Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Neve, to anyone who's new. I thought I would sit down today and film a little bit of a grocery haul and talk a little bit more specifically about my diet, kind of how I eat and what works for me. In my most recent video, I talked about how I lost 10 pounds of fat. I talked about some bigger ideas about eating in a calorie deficit, how to kind of figure out what your calorie deficit is, and learning to eat more properly. But I thought it would be helpful to look now more at a little bit more practical ideas of how I've been eating in order to sustain that calorie deficit, which I keep saying time and time again. So I wanted to show you a little bit of what I got at the grocery store today, and then talk about what are some staples and what I have more variety in, and kind of how I make meals out of the food that I have here. So let's just get into the video and I will explain as I go. So we bought chicken breast today. Chicken breast is obviously a favorite when it comes to dieting because of its calorie content and its protein content. So it's quite low calorie for the amount of protein you're getting. So this was a super good price today. I think we paid $16 for this pack. So we bought 3 packages of chicken this size. Most of it we will freeze. Some of it I will prep right now to eat for the next couple of days. I'll also prep some of it to put in the freezer. And then some of it I will just freeze raw, and I will take it out and defrost it as needed to cook in the future. So I'm hoping 3 packages of chicken breast will last us around 3 weeks. But our diets are kind of changing moving forward, so it's a little bit hard to say. When it comes to grocery shopping, when I'm thinking about my diet, I do flexible dieting. So I have a target for my calories that I try to stay within. And then within those calories, I have a target goal of protein, which for me right now is 1 gram per pound of body weight, that I'm aiming for. So when I'm shopping, I'm often thinking about the calorie content in a food as well as the protein. So something like chicken breast is very high in protein for not that many calories, which really means it's not very high fat. A lot of the calories in food comes from fat. So I'm kind of looking for things that are lower fat option that has protein. Pretty much if it has a package on it, I want it to have some protein in it. Sometimes there's some exceptions, but that's my biggest priority. So chicken breast is great. Not every week do we buy chicken breast because sometimes it's outrageously expensive. This was a little bit cheaper because I think it's going to expire in the next few days, but you can definitely cook it up, freeze it, and it's going to be good to go. So chicken is a staple. Chicken breast I would definitely buy every single week if I could. It just depends on the cost. Sometimes we'll do a different variation of chicken, so chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks. Still have a good amount of protein in them, usually skinless thighs, and then drumsticks obviously have skin on them. Still have a good amount of protein in them, but the fat content is quite a bit higher. So your calories are going to be higher, which is fine. You just have to make adjustments if that's what you're going to be using as your protein source for that meal. So I do prefer chicken breast. There's also just so much that you can do with chicken breast, and because the fat is lower, you sort of have a little bit more room to play with what you're going to do with chicken breast. So I know people can think about it and think, ugh, plain old chicken breast, baked chicken breast, boiled chicken breast. It's so boring and it's so repetitive. But there's so many different ways you can flavor your chicken because it's not a strong flavor. So there's so many different things you can do with chicken to make a variety of meals and make a similar structured meal taste different. For example, you could do like a peanut sauce on your chicken. That would be super tasty. Again, because it's so low in fat, you can afford to add a little bit more fat in the sauces that you use or the marinades that you make. But you could also choose to do something like a lower fat option, like powdered peanut butter if you wanted to do a peanut sauce. I've really been enjoying like a buffalo chicken lately, so buffalo hot sauce, and I add a little bit of sweetener to that. I don't like it too spicy, but I add a little bit of Splenda to some buffalo sauce, and that makes for some really good chicken. You could do like a soy garlic marinade, you could do barbecue sauce. There's lots of like endless options that you could do with chicken breast. So that's why it's a major favorite. I love it. It's a good staple. Anyways, moving on from chicken. Everybody knows chicken breast is a great staple. This extra lean ground turkey, you get 4 pounds of ground turkey for $10. It comes frozen. I would say this is probably an even bigger staple than the chicken breast just because of how much I enjoy it. I like the taste of this just on its own. This is slightly higher fat. So for 100 grams of ground turkey, it's 140 calories and there's 8 grams of fat and 18 grams of protein. So it's still relatively high protein, but there's definitely some fat that comes along with that, which is gonna add to the calories. But I love ground turkey so much. It's a great ground meat option because ground beef, even lean ground beef, tends to be quite high in calories, high in fat, and it can be difficult to find lean ground beef. As well as this is such an affordable option for protein. So I really like it. You can make meat sauce for pasta with this, but honestly my favorite way to eat this is just to cook it in the pan on the stove and have it with rice and some sort of veggies. Again, you can add, change up the flavor based on what you're cooking or what you're seasoning your meat with, or I like to add honey and balsamic to a bowl with ground turkey, rice, and broccoli. That's really tasty to me. Also, I like to make like taco seasoned meat, or you could make chili. Again, there's so many things you can do with ground turkey. I find once you kind of have your protein in check for a meal, it's easy to play with things and to make different meals. So those are my 2 main protein sources that come from meat. So 2 like main animal product protein sources. But to go along with those, this is a major favorite. So this is the Costco rotisserie chicken, and this one is actually cold. So if you shop at Costco, you definitely know that Costco's rotisserie chicken is like amazing. It tastes so good and it's so affordable. So you get a whole chicken. So this obviously is skin on. So it's a little bit higher fat than something like just chicken breast, but for the price, the taste, and the convenience, you just can't go wrong. And so if you're lucky enough to find one of the cold rotisserie chickens, we haven't seen one in what it seems like it's been over a year since we've seen one. So today they actually had quite a few. So we bought one. This one's a little bit cheaper because it's cold. So this whole chicken is $6 and it's already cooked. So you could eat it right now as is, but it also has directions on how to reheat it for it to taste best. But it's so convenient. You already have your protein cooked. That is going to help you in any meal. So if you're ever in a pinch, a rotisserie chicken is amazing. And then you can always take the chicken and you can make so many different things from that. So you can add it to pasta, you can add it to soup, you can add it to salad. There's so many different things you can do. So the Costco rotisserie chicken is a favorite. And if they have the cold one, I love that even more because it's a little bit cheaper and it still tastes just as good. Now, in terms of other protein sources, three that are big staples in my diet. I would buy these maybe every week, or I would alternate Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. So I like to get cottage cheese. So Costco, I think, is the cheapest as far as it comes to where I'm grocery shopping for the cottage cheese, the Greek yogurt, and the egg whites. The egg whites for sure. But I believe for the Greek yogurt and the cottage cheese as well. So Costco, you get 3 containers of cottage cheese. This is 2% fat cottage cheese. So this one has 2.5 grams of fat and 14 grams of protein. So for 100 calories, you're getting 14 grams of protein. The 2.5 grams of fat is fairly insignificant to me. So this is just a great protein source to have that you literally just scoop out, eat in a bowl, eat by itself, you have 14 grams of protein. Have 200 calories, you have 28 grams of protein. So really great protein source that I love. As well as if you haven't tried blended cottage cheese, it is amazing. I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of cottage cheese. Some people don't like the texture. If you don't like the flavor, then blending it up won't really change that, but you can blend it up with different things that taste really good. So I like to do it with either like some frozen fruit, like frozen strawberries are really good, or my absolute favorite is to blend up some cottage cheese with some powdered peanut butter, and it kind of tastes like a peanut butter cheesecake. It's super like thick and creamy and velvety. It's very good. So I like to have cottage cheese. That is a staple that I buy pretty much every week or as I need it. And then another staple is Greek yogurt. So this is plain, unsweetened, 0% fat Greek yogurt. So for this one, it's 100 calories and you get 17 grams of protein. This has 0 fat, 6 grams of carbs. So you get 3 of these at Costco as well. These ones are 650 gram containers. Again, it's just a super easy meal to get a bunch of protein in. So you could either make a smoothie bowl, you could make a smoothie, or just keep it super simple, put some fruit on top, add a little bit of sweetener. It is quite tart on its own, so I don't think you would like to eat it by itself, but I mean, you can do you. But I definitely always add sweetener. But like some frozen berries in a container with your Greek yogurt and some sweetener makes for a delicious meal and is an easy way to get a little bit extra protein. And then another staple is egg whites. I think everybody knows about egg whites. Amazing protein source. At Costco, you get 4 500 gram containers for like $8 or something. It's very affordable. Egg whites are like one of the leanest sources of protein. So for 45 calories, you're getting 10 grams of protein. So I like to mix these with Greek yogurt and oats to make my overnight oatmeal, or cook them in a pan, sometimes with 1 egg, sometimes on their own, and just make an omelet out of them. And again, it's something you can really change up the flavor with. The egg whites don't taste like a whole lot of anything, so you can add, and because the calories are so low and the fat is so low, again, you can add maybe some shredded cheese, you could add some deli meat, you can add some veggies, you could add some cream cheese. There's lots of options when it comes to egg whites. And again, the protein is there, so I love egg whites. They're definitely a staple. And then something I buy occasionally is canned tuna. I wouldn't say I eat this every week, and I'm not too creative when it comes to tuna. I usually just make a tuna melt or a tuna sandwich with a can. But again, it's just a great protein source. For 50 calories, you're getting 12 grams of protein, and there's no fat and no carbs. So you can't really go wrong. I don't often eat it just by itself though. I usually add like mayonnaise and relish to it. But again, it's so lean on its own that you kind of have that room to play with. So I like tuna. I buy this at Costco or at Superstore. Both are good. And then something that I've been eating this year, is the powdered peanut butter. This I love. I don't really like this as a substitute for peanut butter, so I wouldn't like have this on toast or something, but if I'm gonna be mixing it into like oatmeal or with my cottage cheese or just in a smoothie, then I think it's really good. So for 1 tablespoon, it's 35 calories and 4 grams of protein. It does have 1 gram of fat per serving, per tablespoon, but really that's insignificant, especially considering it's an alternative for peanut butter. So in your oatmeal, this is really good. You could add 2 tablespoons and all of a sudden you have 8 extra grams of protein. So anyway, you can add a little bit of extra protein here and there. It really does add up and make a difference. So this is something that has been a staple for me this year. I got this container at Costco. It's definitely not the cheapest thing in the world, but it's lasted me, I'm probably halfway through. So it's lasted me several months, so it will last a while. But that's how I like to use that. And then I think the last regular protein source I would say I use is protein powder. So this is actually my boyfriend's protein powder. I used to eat a ton of protein powder, and then I was just finding that it was upsetting my stomach quite a bit. I couldn't digest it very well. A ton being like a scoop every day, sometimes 2 scoops a day. But this is a really great protein. Protein powder is not the cheapest protein option, but it's a very efficient protein source. So considering you can just mix this up with some water and get 24 grams of protein, it's a great option. What I have been really loving this year is the clear protein, or I think it's called hydrolyzed whey. So it's whey protein, but it's like quite refined, I believe. And so it's clear. When you mix it with water, it's clear. You can get it flavored, which I also enjoy. You can get it like lemonade flavored. And so far, I've been tolerating that a lot better. The hydrolyzed whey is more expensive, but it is lower in calories. So the hydrolyzed whey, I think you get like 20 grams of protein for 80 calories. So I've been enjoying that this year. I like to have that in my workout. It's an easy way. It helps me drink a little bit more water while I'm working out, and it's an easy way to get a 20-gram protein boost, which can make a huge difference in your day. So I've been liking the hydrolyzed whey, but we definitely use some sort of like protein supplement just to make things a little bit easier. Yeah, it's nice to have protein powder on hand. You can just drink this in a shake, or again in a smoothie, or I like to have it with my oats. Are kind of the two ways that I would primarily eat it. I don't love drinking it by itself, but in oatmeal or a smoothie, it's good. So I'm going to put away everything that needs to be in the freezer or the fridge, and then I will continue on with this whole process of going over everything. So some of this I bought today, some of this we already had on hand, but I kind of just wanted to show you my primary staples for when it comes to protein, and then I'll talk a little bit more about everything else when I'm finished putting everything away. I thought while I was in the freezer, I would just quickly pull out this bag of frozen fruit. So this is another staple, some sort of frozen fruit. I buy as needed. It maybe lasts me about a month, a bag this size. That is perfect for pretty much, I use this for blending up with Greek yogurt or with cottage cheese, or sometimes I just defrost the fruit and serve it with cottage cheese, or not with cottage cheese, with Greek yogurt. But definitely a staple, a nice way to buy fruit because it won't go bad, you'll get to it. And I like this bag because it has a good variety. It has strawberries, pineapple, kiwi, and peaches, I think. So sometimes if you want just like strawberry kiwi, you can kind of pick out the fruit you want and get a little bit more variety that way as well. But I'll throw this one back in the freezer right now. We have some diet root beer. This one's like half empty right now. We bought, I think, 4 bottles of diet root beer. I would say my boyfriend drinks more than I do, but we do have a Soda Stream as well, but these were on sale today. But Diet Pop is pretty much a staple, I would say. It's so much better than Calorie Pop. Like, I just can't understand why you would choose to drink Calorie Pop, because the difference in calories is so significant. This literally has 0. Myself nor my boyfriend have any issues with any artificial sweeteners. If that's something that upsets your digestion, then obviously don't drink a ton of Diet Pop. But for us, it's great. It's a great way to have something sweet and kind of satisfy your sweet craving with no calories. So it's definitely a staple for us when it's on sale, or we will also use the Soda Stream. I will say that buying all these things at Costco, it can be a little bit of a challenge to fit everything into the fridge. We have a giant fridge, and that still took me some maneuvering to get things in there, so that is something to consider. I'm sure most people can make it work, but it takes some shifting around to get everything in. So let me talk quickly about the Kodiak cakes. So we eat the Kodiak cakes occasionally. It's nice that you can get them at Costco. I definitely wouldn't call them a staple. I wouldn't consider these to be like a protein source. So for a 1/4 cup of the dried mix, there's 1 gram of fat, 18 grams of carbs, and then 8 grams of protein. So it's a great option if you really like pancakes, or you're having like your Sunday brunch, or for whatever reason you want pancakes. I think they're a great option as an alternative to just like your standard pancake mix. I don't think they're necessarily necessary if you just eat pancakes like a few times a year as a treat, that's totally fine. It's nice to have a little bit of extra protein though. And you can do some different things with the mix. I made a banana bread with the mix and it was pretty good. It's not so considerably high in protein that I feel like it's groundbreaking or anything. So I would definitely consider these a carb source. But you could make like a bunch of these and freeze them. You could make waffles or pancakes and freeze them, and then you could have them on the side of like your protein, like your egg white. That's how I think I would go about eating these if you wanted to make them a regular part of your diet. Or you could just have a lower protein breakfast. It does also give some instructions on the back as to how to increase the protein, which is replacing water with milk and adding an egg, which will boost the protein, but it's also going to boost the calories and the fat. So just some things to keep in mind. But they're super tasty. I think they're delicious. I also will say that most people don't just eat the pancakes by themselves. I know I definitely don't. And sometimes it's the toppings you put on top that can kind of be the higher calorie part of the equation. So some things that are nice are sugar-free syrup if you can find it. It's not the easiest thing for us to find around here. It's also not the cheapest thing, but sugar-free syrup, frozen berries that you've defrosted can be super tasty. Your powdered peanut butter can be a good option, or even some low-fat Cool Whip I feel like is a decent option. So just be mindful, I guess, of what you're putting on top. But yeah, these are definitely not a staple, but they're nice to have in the house. They're a fun treat, and it's nice to get some variety. And they're a good carb source. If you just need if you need carbs, you get a little bit of extra protein. I think they're a great option. Speaking of carbs, we have bought these a few times now. I think they're more of a staple in my boyfriend's diet than they are in mine. But these are just regular original tortillas. You get a huge package of these for $10 at Costco, so they're a good price. So one tortilla is 170 calories. They have 4 grams of fat. They do have 5 grams of protein, which isn't bad for like a not protein tortilla, and 28 grams of carbs. We primarily use these to make meal prep burritos. So for us, we'll cook up a bunch of veggies, a bunch of ground turkey for myself. My boyfriend will have ground beef. Roll these up and then put them in the freezer. So we have a super quick, super tasty meal on hand. So in the freezer right now, I think I have like 10 of these and he's got like 15 of them or something. So it's nice to have like a quick option for the days when we don't have time to cook anything. Or we just want something super easy and tasty. We don't feel like cooking anything. I think he's gonna try making some breakfast burritos with these. That also sounds delicious, and they would be good for just making like fajitas or tacos or whatever. So these are good. These are kind of a carb source for us, but I say I would eat maybe a meal prep burrito once a week or every other week. But that is one of the carb options that we eat. And then for me, I like English muffins. These are, I guess, there's no such thing as like good or bad food, especially. That's the nice thing about flexible dieting. The cat tried to attack the bird. The nice thing about flexible dieting is there's really no such thing as a good food or a bad food. You make the choices as to what's gonna work best for you. So to me, an English muffin kind of falls between toast and a bagel. It's definitely not as high fat as a bagel. You could probably get more volume from your meal if you just ate toast, but I really enjoy having some English muffins, so I buy a bunch of these and put them in the freezer. Typically, I'll just have one English muffin with my breakfast. If I'm having egg whites or something for breakfast, this is a great option. It's 140 calories per English muffin, nothing outrageous. I like to just like soften them in the microwave, but most people I think toast them. But I will have maybe one of these a day, so there's definitely a staple. And I like to put them in the freezer because then they don't go bad. So I got a couple of those. These are just the like plain original ones. The cinnamon raisin ones are really good, but I think they're like 180 calories, so I don't have those as often. And then we have some fruit. So I wouldn't say, so fruit is a staple in our diet, but I wouldn't say we have anything like that we consistently buy week to week. Bananas are fairly common, and apples are fairly common for us. We'll have those, but we like pineapple, we like cantaloupe. It doesn't really matter. Just that's the nice thing, that you can get variety in your diet. Your protein sources may be more or less the same, but usually you can mix up your fruit and vegetables based on what you like. So I like to have banana in a smoothie or in my oats, nice to have on hand, or just as a banana. And then same thing with apples. They're great to add to a meal or to have them with peanut butter. So apple and banana are a fairly consistent one. And then lemons are something we like to buy this big. The cat has made her appearance. This bag was cheaper. They are the naturally imperfect lemons. So I think this is 4 pounds of lemons. I really like to just juice a whole lemon in water or in my soda stream, like my sparkling water, add a little bit of stevia, and that helps me increase my water intake. I also do like the liquid flavor drops. These are just quite expensive, and we go through them fairly quickly. So we do have the lemons, but then I also have one bottle of the flavor enhancer, and this one is pink lemonade. Most of them are pretty good. I do find that this significantly helps me to improve my water intake. I am like the worst when it comes to drinking water, so I definitely recommend flavoring your water. It's just a matter of finding what flavors you like and what's gonna work for your budget. And what's available to you. But lemons are a great option. Lemons, juicing an entire lemon, I find, gives a good amount of flavor to your water. Just slicing it up is fine. It's not my favorite thing, but adding a whole lemon with some sweetener is super tasty. And then it looks like the only thing I really bought for vegetables this week is broccoli. A couple heads of broccoli, because these were cheap. Crowns of broccoli, I guess. Broccoli, you can do a ton with. I like roasted broccoli, I like steamed broccoli. Again, veggies are something you can kind of switch up week to week. Broccoli, I would say, is a staple. Carrots we have fairly often. Spinach I have fairly often. Spinach I like because you can just throw it in your bowl in the microwave and it cooks super quickly, or you can cook it down in a pan and it turns into nothing. We also eat a decent amount of frozen veggies. So we'll buy like a super big bag of frozen veggies, and I love those as well because you can throw them in a bowl and cook them in the microwave super fast. They are not the tastiest thing in the world. I wouldn't eat them by themselves, but if you're having, for me, like if I'm having a bowl with rice, some sort of protein, and then I want some veggies, the frozen veggies are great if I can like mix them in. So mix them with like the rice and the ground turkey and put some soy sauce or something on them. Then they taste super good, and they're just a super easy and convenient option. And I did cook a spaghetti squash today, which I haven't ever made before. I've eaten before, but I don't think I've ever cooked on my own. So it's fun to kind of change up your veggies, try some different things. Bell peppers are another one that I like a lot. And then obviously onions we eat a good amount of. I don't really count that as a vegetable, I don't know why. Lettuce sometimes. Lots of different things you can do with your vegetables. But this week we seemingly only bought broccoli. I have carrots in the fridge, we have some potatoes, and I'm gonna be working for the next 4 days, so I don't want stuff sitting in the fridge going bad. And then I think the only other thing we bought today was the salsa. I don't know if I would consider salsa a staple. We bought this specifically for my boyfriend to use in his breakfast burritos. I do use salsa, and I like salsa because it's super low calorie, because it's basically just tomato and pepper. So for 2 tablespoons is 10 calories and 2 grams of carbs and a gram of fiber. So again, you can pour like salsa on top of your chicken and throw that in the crock pot and get a super tasty chicken breast that you can use for fajitas and things. So that's mostly what I like to do with salsa, or sometimes put it on my eggs, but mostly I use it to cook chicken and make like fajitas or taco bowls or something like that. One of the only other things I can think of that's a super consistent staple for me is some form of oatmeal and some form of quick cooking oatmeal. I'm just gonna pour this in here because this is where I like to have it. So yeah, I pretty much always have oatmeal on hand. I do, let's get rid of this. I do go through phases of eating a little more or less oatmeal. I typically like to make either warm oatmeal that I've tried putting egg whites in my warm oatmeal, and I don't mind that, but I can't get enough protein from the egg whites. So I like to have hot oatmeal with like a scoop of protein powder, and usually I can tolerate that relatively well. Or lately I've been doing overnight oats with Greek yogurt and egg whites in the fridge, and then some sort of flavoring. Sometimes that's, again, powdered peanut butter, but it could also be regular peanut butter, or it could be fruit, banana, cinnamon, anything like that. So oatmeal is definitely a staple. Otherwise, for carbohydrates, we always have rice. We eat a lot of rice. Occasionally, I'll have like typical bread. If I'm doing like tuna sandwich, tuna melt, that kind of thing, I will have bread. I mentioned we have potatoes. We don't eat potatoes that often. Our primary carbohydrate is definitely rice, but I like having potatoes as well. And the last things I would say that are fairly consistent for my diet is something sweet. So they're down in the deep freeze right now. We have some ice cream, like kind of like creamsicle type bars that we bought today that I think are like 60 calories, and they're not trying to be anything healthy. Sometimes I get the Greek yogurt bars, which do try to be healthy, but these are just standard ice cream bars. We've had like the Malona ice cream bars and some bubble tea ice cream bars. We don't tend to buy like the protein ice cream or things like that, but I like to have something sweet, typically that I can have at the end of the day, and I do like it to be like an individually wrapped single serving versus like scooping ice cream out of a container, because I know I'm gonna call it half a cup of ice cream, but it's definitely a cup of ice cream. But the frozen yogurt is a decent option as far as calories go, if you can be disciplined enough to only give yourself half a cup. So I like to have preferably like a single serving frozen ice cream bar at the end of the day, or it's just turning to fall now, but in the fall winter time, I like to have hot chocolate, the light hot chocolate, are individual sachets as well, and they're like 45 calories for a cup of hot chocolate, and then some sort of usually like lighter calorie cookie. I have like a tea biscuit that I think is like 25 or 30 calories per cookie, and then sometimes I'll have some actual squares of chocolate that are nice to eat. You kind of have to practice some self-control to not eat the whole bar. Sometimes that happens and life goes on, but I definitely like having something sweet. And then we go out to eat fairly consistently. We'll eat with my family or Johnny's family probably once or twice a week. So there's some meals that are, who knows what they're gonna be, but they're usually quite healthy as far as it goes, with having some sort of protein, some sort of carb, and some sort of vegetable. But we do go out to eat, and I make things fit into my diet. I've been able to lose 10 pounds while going on lots of vacations, going out to eat lots, and just figuring out a way to make my diet work for me, which has been flexible dieting. As I'm moving forward into maintenance, I do see my diet changing a little bit, and as my goals change, I think my diet will change a little bit, but I'll definitely continue to do more or less flexible dieting. So I'm going to continue to track what I eat. My macronutrient profile will likely change, but I'll continue to prioritize protein, and that's really like my number one tip. Track how many calories you're eating, prioritize protein, eat food that you enjoy, probably cook at home more or less, but there's lots of like healthy options you can get away from home. But those are more or less my staples. You also get an idea of kind of what we buy week to week. So I hope that this video was interesting to you. I know I like just seeing other people's grocery hauls and sort of what they eat weekly or what their staples are. So if it was enjoyable, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe. If you're interested in like a week of eating or a what I eat in a day video, leave a comment down below so I know, or let me know anything else that you'd kind of like to see from me. I'm hoping to continue to have a video every week. I appreciate everybody who is watching this. It means a lot to me. So thank you so much for being here. Keep chasing your goals, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.